paramount to bring about the change that we want to see. And indeed, it is in that light of creating awareness that we are here this morning to shed more light on eTIMS operations. For many of you who may be aware, our chief manager of the eTIMS operations unit has just come off the radio. She's been on live on the radio on Spice FM for the last 2 hours, again, sensitizing the public on all things eTIMS and how taxpayers can be compliant. So you'll appreciate the efforts coming from the Kenya Revenue Authority to ensure that all hands on deck to spread the message and the gospel of eTIMS. But without further ado, maybe I can just start off by posing the first question to our KRA team to just give us a sense, by and large, what is eTIMS, what is TIMS, and contextualize it for us. Where have we come from, and where are we at right now when it comes to eTIMS? Maybe I'll start with you, Madam Mudhoni. Maybe you can give us a sense of what is eTIMS, because again, we are trying to dispel and some misconceptions out there. Is it a tax?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Mandy, for that introduction and the question. So I would say eTIMS and TIMS are solutions that assist the taxpayer to be able to transmit and generate compliant invoices to KRA. Saying that, I would say that the eTIMS is a software solution, while the TIMS, which is a tax invoicing management system, is the device solution. So both of them work together to assist the taxpayer, just as I've said. But I would say that it's a misconception that eTIMS is a tax. eTIMS is just a solution to assist you as a taxpayer to generate a compliant invoice. So it is a platform for you to generate an invoice, but it's not a tax. For filing of taxes, we still say that the taxpayer files this through the iTax platform, but when you're generating an invoice, you generate it through the eTIMS or the TIMS devices. Thank you, Mandy.
Thank you so much. Good to note that KRA is not introducing, I should not say KRA is introducing, that there's been no introduction of a new tax, but simply eTIMS is a transmission platform. And indeed, maybe I can now pose the first question to our team from PwC. We note the many benefits that eTIMS poses for the authority. For purposes of collection, it increases visibility and traceability. But maybe you can just touch on what are the benefits, if any, in your opinion, of invoice transmission through eTIMS for our taxpayers, for external taxpayers out there. Mr. Washinga, good morning to you, sir, and over to you.
Morning, Mandy. Confirm you can hear me. So yes, so I'll introduce myself. So my name is Michael Wachinga, as you were introduced to earlier, and I'm a manager within the PwC tax team. In regard to your second question on the benefits that eTIMS offers to the taxpayers, I would start off saying it offers a simplified tax return filing system. And by this, we are saying, remember, all invoices that have been issued through eTIMS will be pre-populated and captured for VAT filing purposes. And we expect the same that will be populated for CIT returns. So this means that then you will not be expected to key in the data manually when you're filing these returns, and more so for VAT returns, where it's done on a month-on-month basis. With time, what we expect is that you'll be able to download the pre-populated return and file it as is, and this will simplify the return, save time, and allow businesses to continue doing businesses rather than spending.
Mr. Washinga, please allow me just to interrupt you briefly. I think we're experiencing the initial challenge we had where you sound a bit far from the microphone. I note you had mentioned you are a little unwell, and apologies for that. And we thank you for nonetheless making time to be here and honoring the invite. Maybe I can just request you to speak a bit closer to the microphone, kindly.
Okay, confirm this is better now?
A bit better, yes, please. Please proceed. Thank you.
Okay, so I was saying that one, it will offer a simplified filing solution. So taxpayers will be able to file their returns with no much hassle. Then the second benefit then that we're talking about is for taxpayers who are entitled to refunds. Remember, these refunds will be tied to the data that is submitted through the returns file, which now this will be automatically transmitted through eTIMS. So we expect that then the return filing will also enhance faster processing of refunds. I think to touch on two more, I'm looking at a scenario where they will have reduced disputes with the Revenue Authority. Sometime far back, I know we had the VA issue, that's the VA assessment coming in due to the mismatch of data declared by either purchasers and suppliers. eTIMS solved this solution. We expect all this data now will be pre-populated on iTax, and among other disputes that may arise with the Revenue Authority, we expect that these ones then might reduce as we go forward. And lastly, I'm saying it will improve relationships between supplier and customers. If I am a supplier and I'm supplying to you and you're able to validate the information that the invoices I've shared to you have been transmitted to the Revenue Authority, and then that will go a long way in fostering our relationship, trust in businesses. I know sometimes we have some trust business partners who sometimes may issue invoices that you don't or you suspect may not be tax invoices, but with eTIMS, then you're able to validate all these through iTax, and that will enhance the trust between business partners. Mehdi, back to you.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Washinga. Indeed, several benefits present themselves for eTIMS and for our taxpayers once we can achieve 100% onboarding of Kenyan taxpayers. I think you also mentioned some key benefits that will be available to our taxpayers, key among them being the pre-populated VAT return. And though I know we experienced a few challenges in this most recent return, I trust that the process will be smoother moving forward. And I know that the team actually, Mr. Washinga, is working on having a fully web-based return by the end of the year. So gone will be the days of Excels when we are filing both VAT and IT. So that's something we can all look forward to once eTIMS is fully onboarded on by all our taxpayers. So now I'll bring in maybe Mr. Mwangi at this time from our team from KRA, and to just notify our attendees in the forum so far. We encourage you to post any comments, any questions, any concerns in the chat, or all things eTIMS, and we can have both our KRA team and the team from PwC respond. Victor, good morning to you. Maybe you can just touch on some of the key dates we should be noting as we work towards compliance in terms of eTIMS. Over the many months, we've noted a few public notices and statements coming from the authority when it comes to how to be compliant for eTIMS purposes. But when exactly is the deadline for eTIMS onboarding? And to avoid maybe perhaps assumptions that we typically have in the market and in the economy, should we expect an extension? Victor, good morning.
Thank you very much for the kind introduction, Mandy, and good morning to you all. So about the question, I think it's important to note that we have two categories of taxpayers. When it comes to business, we have the VAT taxpayers and we have the non-VAT taxpayers. So the deadline for the non-VAT taxpayers is the 31st of March, which will be the end of this month. That's probably the end of this week or early next week. So that should be the deadline of onboarding on eTIMS for non-VAT taxpayers. And maybe to just put it out there, ideally it was initially it was supposed to be the 1st of January, because I know there was a notice, but it was overhauled by the one that was released on the 27th of December 2023, which allowed the extension to the 31st of March. So again, it was brought about by feedback from stakeholders. They were saying that it was quite an ambush and they needed more time, and that's why we availed. We gave them an allowance of 3 months, But of course, Kenyans being Kenyans, we have to do what we do, but we cannot keep on allowing extension after extension. So it's a bit firm that the deadline will be the 31st of March. And maybe also to clarify is that for the VAT taxpayers, they are in the mandatory phase. So for 31st of March, it's only for the non-VAT taxpayers. So thank you, Mandy.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much, Victor. I think that means we have about 5 days to go till the deadline, noting that 3 of those 5 days are public holidays and weekends. So to our esteemed taxpayers in the forum so far, please work towards either onboarding and or encouraging your suppliers and your clients and all those who you are in trading with to onboard to eTIMS. And I know the next question we typically get is, what's the practicality of some of the eTIMS solutions for our informal sector, and we'll touch on that extensively shortly. But just before we do that, when it comes to this deadline now, if a taxpayer in this forum might not know how to exactly onboard to eTIMS, how to register, maybe Muthoni, I can bring you in at this point to just walk us through that customer journey of how, from start to finish, how eTIMS is onboarded to and how a taxpayer can start generating eTIMS compliant invoices. How do they know that they are now compliant? And maybe you can just walk us through that journey from start to finish. Thanks, Muthoni.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mandy. So we have different solutions for eTIMS taxpayers. So in case you're dealing with goods or services, we have the e-client version that can assist you. Then we have the online version for people dealing with purely services. So these are solutions that you probably need someone from KRA, an officer from KRA, to approve for you. But we have very simplified solutions for taxpayers that deal with very few transactions, and these are the non-VAT taxpayers, as my colleague had said before. So they don't need any intervention from KRA and can be able to access these solutions from the eCitizen platform, that is through ecitizen.kra.go.ke, and from there they are able to just activate their e-invoicing platform. From there, they're able to create the invoice and also just state who they are selling to, and they are able to get a compliant invoice. They don't need to reach out to KRA for approval, and then they can also dial star 22 hash, and they are able to generate a compliant invoice from their mobile phone. Now for the other solutions I talked about, that is the online and the e-client version, the taxpayer can be able to get to the KRA website, and they go to ecitizen.kra, they go to etims.kra.go.ke, sorry about that. And from there, they proceed to do the sign up process, whereby they need to input their PIN number and verify that the information we have is the same information they have from their iTax platform. Remember, eTIMS and iTax are linked, so whatever is registered on iTax is what we have on eTIMS. So from here, they confirm that the mobile number that is provided is what they had registered on iTax, because we normally send the one-time password on the registered mobile number. So from here, they just create they sign up and they create a password, and after that they click on the sign up button, and then they proceed to sign in with the password that they had created, and the user ID, that is the user ID should be the PIN number. After they've been able to log in, they need to click on a service request tab, and the eTIMS, they'll find an eTIMS button whereby they press it, and then it will populate the information again. Here they're supposed to upload 2 documents, that is the ID of the director and a commitment form. This is as well, you can be able to get it from the KRA website. So they need to fill out the commitment form and attach it together with the ID. So after they've done that, they just need to select the solution depending on the nature of their business. So we said for people dealing with services, they need to select the online solution. This is for people like accountants, auditors, people who just deal with services and don't have any goods in their premises. Then for people who have goods, or they also have goods and services, they need to select the e-client version. So and also we have people who do system to system integration, but for these are people who have the billing system in place, and they will need to integrate their billing system with KRA system. So for this, we say that they need to get in touch with, we have published some some integrators on the KRA website who they need to get in touch with so that they can know if their billing system is integratable with the KRA system. So for those ones, they say they can also do a self-integration in case they have an IT department in their business. So it depends. You can do it by yourself, or you can get in touch with the third-party integrators. So for the other solutions, that is now the online and the e-client, then after they've attached the commitment form and the ID for the director, they proceed to send the documents, and then they can get in touch with us. I hope, Mandy, at the end of the presentation, you can be able to uh, maybe just provide some of our telephone numbers and our contacts so that they just get in touch with us. We do the approval process for them. After the approval process is done, then they can they don't have to visit KRA, as we said. They can we have very simplified user guides on the platform whereby they can see step-by-step guides on how they need to log in onto the system, and also they can see how they can generate a compliant invoice. We also have we've made some clips on YouTube that you can access to see how you can generate a compliant invoice. And for people who've chosen the e-client version, then they can get to see how they will download the software on their desktops or their machines that they want to use, and they're able to generate a compliant invoice. We are also there to assist you in case you need some training, in case you need to know how to generate an invoice, or you have any query depending on any problem that you've encountered, maybe downloading the software or knowing how to continue generating the invoice. So we are here to support. You can get in touch with us through the contacts that have been provided or the email address that has been provided. We are also located at J Quarters in case you also want to pay us a visit. Back to you, Mandy.
All right, thank you very much. So it's coming out clearly that you do not necessarily have to visit a KRA office to get eTIMS assistance, but maybe Mudhoni, just before you get off, if a taxpayer would want to visit a KRA office, are they mandated to go to the headquarters in town or in the CBD rather in Nairobi, or where else can someone get eTIMS support if they needed?
Thank you, Mandy, for that. So not only can you get assistance from our head office, that is JQuat Towers, we have also our champions in all the stations across the country. You can walk to any KRA office and you'll get the assistance that you need. You don't have to necessarily come to JQuat Towers, but you'll get assistance from any station that is close to you. Thank you.
All right, perfect. Thank you very much. And if a taxpayer has had this experience so far, has feedback, constructive or a compliment that they wish to share with us, please feel free to post it in the chat. We normally collate the feedback and share it with our teams for purposes of, again, incorporating it in order to improve on our services. So let us know what your experience was like, and we'll go ahead to again, feed that into our system so that we improve on how we can best serve you. I'll stick with the KRA team just a little bit more because more recently we've had a few concerns raised by some sectors based on the information and the confidentiality of the information shared with them through eTIMS, or rather through them as the service provider, and whether or not they should be able to transmit that information to eTIMS specifically. I think we are all aware that a few medical professionals and bodies have come up to ask how KRA is in fact securing and protecting and safeguarding the taxpayer information when it comes to eTIMS. They're using these and a few other grounds as the basis on which they may not be able to fully comply with eTIMS, not knowing the safety and protection levels. Maybe Victor, I can bring you on just to reassure some of our taxpayers who may not necessarily be from that sector, but would wish to know, by and large, what are the safeguards that KRA has put in place with TIMS and eTIMS in terms of protecting the confidentiality of some of these professions. Victor?
Once again, thank you, Mandy. And it's a very huge concern you've raised. about the confidentiality of the information, and just basing it on the sector that raised the concern. It was medical practitioners, and I'd like to answer it based on how their systems used to work even before eTIMS, because ideally eTIMS is just providing visibility. So we are not changing anything, and that's why we have system-to-system integration that my colleague Muthoni talked about, where you see, based on the billing systems that are already in place, the systems that generate invoices, the same things that are captured in the system, we just need them transmitted to KRA. So that's exactly what eTIMS is doing. And therefore, I know most of us have gone to hospitals, received medical services, and we get invoices. You see, the invoice only captures details directly related to the business transaction. So that's maybe your name, the services that you're getting, and maybe the amount that was charged. So you see, with this, it's information that has already been, presently in their systems, and therefore we are not asking for more information than what is already availed. Yeah. So ideally, even with now the information that we get, that was just to clarify that we are not getting any more information that what is already out there. Yeah. So aside from that, we have policies in place that are also captured in our governing legislative governing laws, and that one is captured in the Tax Procedures Act under the confidentiality clause, and all the information that we receive as KRA is kept confidential and is not consumed by anyone else. It's used for tax administration purposes, and therefore the information that is transmitted to us is very, very secure. So maybe to just reassure you that the details we are only interested in is whoever the transaction is between, whatever service or item or good is being sold, and finally the amount that is being charged. That's the only information we get as KRA. Thank you, Mandy.
All right, perfect. Thanks, Victor, for that response. And to the PwC team, who I'm just about to bring on, should you wish to comment on any of the questions and responses that we've just asked, feel free to do so at this point. But maybe Mr. Muya, I can bring you on at this point. You can introduce yourself as well and just inform us when it comes to eTIMS onboarding. Are there any transactions or exemptions or thresholds that have been expressly outlined when it comes to eTIMS that our taxpayers should note for compliance? And you can also give your opinion as to whether there should be some considerations made by our legislators as we move on in terms of eTIMS and TIMS. Mr. Moya, good morning. Over to you.
Good morning, Mandy and team. Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Daniel Muya. I'm manager in the tax team here at PwC Kenya. Thank you, Mandy, for the previous introduction you did. I appreciate that. So maybe to your question, whether there are any exemptions provided for eTIMS exemptions or the exemption from issuing electronic tax invoices. I would say yes, there are a few transactions, specific transactions, which are exempted under the Tax Procedures Act, Section 23A. These include emoluments, that is the salary expenses and the like. We have imports, so imported goods and services, they are exempted. So when you are dealing with an non-resident, then you don't need to push them to give you an electronic tax invoice. The imports are excluded, and these will cover both services and goods. We have interest. This is from the financial institutions. Interest they charge, so that is also exempted from the banks and the likes. We have something around investment allowances. This is the capital expenditure deductions which you claim when you are doing your income tax computations. That is also exempted. And then we have airline air ticketing, air passenger ticketing, and similar payments. Those are also exempted. To add to that, the commissioner has been granted powers to exempt a person or persons but this should be through a gazette notice. I think so far I'm not aware of any such exemptions. We've not seen a gazette notice maybe identify a person who has been exempted. So that is what I'm aware of from the law. I know, maybe just to mention, I think there was something last year, towards the end of last year, where there were some, let me call them Draft Tax Procedures Act, Electronic Tax Invoice, Electronic Tax Invoice regulations, but these were never gazetted, because I know there was a small confusion where people were saying, oh, there is people who are doing below 5 million have been exempted. That never ended to be gazetted, so it's not law at the moment. So that is not applicable at the moment. Any person carry on business in Kenya is required to issue electronic tax invoices and maintain records of stock through this system which the Commission has established. With the exception of the few transactions which I've mentioned, they are specifically exempted under the TPA. And in the event that the commissioner, maybe a person applies, the commissioner is certified that because of the grounds they have given, maybe they need an exemption, the commissioner has powers to do so, but this is yet to happen. I know there has been another confusion around exemption from income tax, exemption from VAT. It's like people who are not VAT registered, as I think in the beginning, Victor Mwangi, you touched on that, they need to be also on these, they are required to onboard eTIMS, and their deadline was that 1st March 2024. I've seen a confusion between now somebody saying, hold on, I have tax exemption, income tax exemption, so I don't need to comply. No, these are separate. Legislation. So exemption from income tax doesn't mean you are exempted from eTIMS, and also exemption from VAT doesn't mean you are exempted from electronic invoicing. Thank you, Mandy.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Mr. Muya. Spoken like the true taxman, because I think you've echoed all the statements and positions that KRA has taken when it comes to those who are expected and eligible to onboard to eTIMS and those that are not. Mr. Muya has expressly mentioned that there are no, as at now, exempt persons or sectors or industries for eTIMS purposes. There are only exempt transactions, about 5 that have been outlined, and or should the commissioner outline any others. He also mentioned that indeed there was a gazette notice, or rather a document making the rounds late last year, and I think that speaks to some of the questions we have received in the chat so far, which we'll respond to at the very end regarding the 5 million threshold. That was again I think in that document, that because it wasn't gazetted, that means that it's not law. And as at now, there is no threshold for eTIMS onboarding. As Mr. Muya mentioned, all those trading and in business are required to onboard to eTIMS. So I'll still keep the eTIMS, or rather the PwC team, on the panel just to respond to the next 2 questions, which is in regards to filing and payment. Mr. Washinga had mentioned how the eTIMS and the TIMS solutions are coming to simplify the filing processes when it comes to the pre-population of or already available information to KRA in taxpayers' returns. But maybe, Mr. Washinga, you can also just touch on the issue of how the income tax returns will be filed from 2025 for the financial year 2024, for those whose accounting periods end in December, for those non-eTIMS invoices received between January to March 2024. You'll note that there was initially the original date of 1st January 2024 for all eTIMS, for all invoices, I beg your pardon, that will be claimed for IT purposes to be eTIMS compliant. But given the extension of the 3 months, how does that now come to affect how taxpayers will be filing their returns next year and in the years to come? Mr. Washinga, over to you.
Thank you, Mandy. I just have a tweak on that one. Let me know in case I drop again. So I'll separate back to the public notice that was issued, I think, sometime back on 27th of December the one that granted the extension to 31st March 2024. Ideally, and part of what was included on that public notice is how taxpayers would deal with the invoices that would be issued for the period January to March 2024 that may have been issued outside of eTIMS. And the public notice was clearly outlining that taxpayers will be expected to reissue their invoices on eTIMS to ensure that they are captured immediately they are rolled on onto eTIMS, that is after March 2024. So ideally what we expect is we will have issued any invoice manually between the period January to March 2024. Immediately you are onboarded on the eTIMS systems, and to ensure that you capture all your supplies on eTIMS or all your invoices, then you may be expected to reissue the invoices that you had issued manually on eTIMS.
All right, that's well noted. Thanks, Mr. Washinga. And I think I should have prefaced that by saying what exactly the Finance Act 2023 came to say when it came to claiming of expenses. So that's well noted. Thank you for that guidance. And I think now I'd like to bring in both our teams, and I'll start with Mr. Muya, if I can just bring you back on to just touch on your sentiments and your observations so far of whether the authority has indeed factored in some of the realities that exist within Kenya's economic landscape. Specifically, in your assessment, have MSMEs been considered when it comes to onboarding onto eTIMS, noting that the requirement for all persons trading to be eTIMS compliant? I think this is also in the spirit of a number of the public notices that have most recently been welcoming feedback, recommendations, input that would go towards simplifying and ensuring that we're all compliant. Mr. Muya?
Yeah, thank you, Menti. So the answer to that from my experience is a yes. So from my experience, I can confirm that the Revenue Authority has really considered the small businesses in terms of onboarding eTIMS by providing additional solutions which are simplified. And I think, Muthoni, you touched on some of them. Initially, remember, we started with Teams, which was for the VAT people. And then this required the use of a gadget, the ETR, which some people said it's expensive and such. Now with eTIMS, you don't need to buy anything. So at least I can say for the small and medium enterprises, then it's free. You don't have to incur significant amounts to purchase anything. Maybe now back to the solutions. Yes, there are simplified solutions which takes care of small and medium businesses. Muthoni, you touched on the eLite solutions, which is the two solutions, one under eCitizen portal and also the other one under the USSD code, that is the star 222 hash. Once you do that, at least you don't even need internet connection to raise that invoice. You'll just exchange the messages. You answer, you get a message. At the end of it, you get a link which you can actually send to your customer and tell them to download the invoice. Of course, to download the invoice at that end, they will need an internet, but for you to raise the invoice, actually it will be, you don't need to pay internet connection to raise the invoices. eCitizen, of course, you need internet to access that, but at least these are simplified solutions which you do not need to undergo like an onerous process of registration and also approval through the KRA. It's very, very, very simplified. Maybe another one to mention, I think the online portal is very friendly to small businesses, but this one is restricted to service industry only because, you know, there are two requirements in the law at the moment: to issue electronic tax invoices and maintain records of stocks through the system established by the commissioner. So for the online version, it's only for people in the service industry, but it's very friendly for, you find there are small people, consultants making less than 10 invoices a month. That's a very straightforward process. You just go, once you register, application is approved within a day or so, and raising the invoice there is very quick as well. In 3 minutes, at most 5 minutes, you have your invoice, and it's very simple actually. So that's another very friendly solution and caters for the small and medium enterprises. Also, we have the eTIMS client. These are softwares which you download to your gadgets. You can even download to your mobile. So it's a mobile application you download and raise the invoice through that. We have others, the software you download to your laptop, your PDA, your desktop, whichever gadget you are using to raise an invoice, then these software solutions are available for you to use. So ideally, okay, the other one is the system to system. Maybe that one somebody can think it's for big enterprises with a proper billing system or ERP. But of course, the other three I've mentioned clearly takes into account or considers the small businesses, even including sole proprietors. People who are using their, let's say, my own PIN, the one which starts with A something, and I've registered a business under the same PIN. Of course, eCitizen takes care for that and also the USSD code. So I think for now, everyone has been considered. Initially, these simplified solutions were not there, but towards the end of last year, KRA took the initiative to introduce these simplified solutions. So yes, Mandy, the answer to your question is a yes. Thank you.
All right. Thanks very much, Mr. Moya, for that clarification and that vote of confidence, I think, in the authorities' efforts over the last few months to onboard all and simplify the process of onboarding. Mudhoni, maybe I can just bring you back again to echo some of what Mr. Moya has already touched on. But as you talk about the onboarding process to eTIMS and the various support channels that we've made available, you can also just talk of our regional reach, the efforts that we're putting in place to ensure that all persons countrywide are the message of eTIMS reaches them. And then you can just briefly touch on eTIMS uptake so far in your assessment. I know some of our large and medium taxpayers are already compliant when it comes to uptake. Maybe you can talk of some of our MSMEs, and also we're getting questions in the chat regarding some of our parastatals and government institutions that we are required to deal with on a regular. So these are your KPLCs and your county governments who issue parking ticket fees. Maybe you can just touch on that uptake so far and where we are also headed. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Mandy. So just as you've said, for the eTIMS uptake, I would say that majority of our taxpayers had already onboarded onto the TIMS. They had already purchased the TIMS devices, so they had been compliant by that fact. And we are saying, so long as you had purchased the device and it is working well for you, then you're compliant enough. eTIMS came to assist the taxpayers who had not purchased the device, and to this we came up with a eTIMS solution so that we facilitate such taxpayers who had not purchased the device or were having challenges with the device. So I would say most of the VAT taxpayers were well taken care of with the devices, but even the ones who had not gotten a chance to purchase the device because of the cost, then eTIMS came as well to assist such taxpayers. So I would say when you talk about the VAT taxpayers, majority of them have onboarded so far. And for the non-VAT taxpayers, since we started this drive. Hi, Mandy. Am I audible? Okay, so I was saying,
Madam Mudhoni, you are loud and clear. Thanks.
So I was saying for the non-VAT taxpayers with the Finance Act of 2023, which said that everyone in business must now onboard. That's why we are now working more to drive the uptake for the non-VAT taxpayers. And I would say that since we started from 1st September 2023 till now, we are still onboarding these non-VAT taxpayers. So I would say that the numbers are also coming up because we are also targeting to probably onboard more as we come to the end of the process, which is 31st March before the deadline. So I would say the numbers are also looking good for the non-VAT taxpayers. And to add on to that, as you said, we are currently working to sensitize the taxpayers. Currently, we have built capacity on all the regions in our country. We've had a majority of our staff go outside the country, or rather outside Nairobi, to sensitize the public. We've actually managed to even get in touch with some of these organizations like farmers. We've reached out to a majority of these stakeholders to ensure that we've preached the gospel of eTIMS so that it trickles down to people who are in business, especially the non-VAT taxpayers. So I would say we've done a reach out to everyone, and we've also had these tax Thursdays whereby we've been educating the taxpayers and enlightening them on what eTIMS is, and also to ensure that they are well supported in terms of onboarding and on how they can be able to generate a compliant invoice. So I think we've really tried to reach out to everyone, and all the professional bodies. We've reached out to accountants just to ensure that they pass the same message to people that they facilitate on a day-to-day basis. Back to you, Mandy.
All right, thank you very much, Muthoni, for those responses. And I think at this stage, it's now 10:45. I'd like to tackle some of the questions that have come in the Q&A, and perhaps I think largely they're related to eTIMS, but I'll bring back on our PwC team just to respond to the final question, which is in their assessment, what opportunities actually exist for taxpayers when it comes to revenue mobilization, what opportunities exist for the nation overall once eTIMS and TIMS, the uptake is 100%. So I think just be on standby, Mr. Washinga, Mr. Muya, for those final questions and remarks. But at this stage, allow me to just pose a few questions to Muthoni and Victor on eTIMS related queries. Muthoni, we have this issue of credit notes, and on all solutions, it seems like we still need to sensitize taxpayers more on how exactly to generate credit notes through eCitizen or through the various solutions. This taxpayer is specifically asking, how do we generate credit notes through eCitizen? And just before you respond to that, Madam Muthoni, allow me just to, on your behalf, respond to all the queries coming in regarding TIMS and eTIMS devices. I know, Muthoni, you'd already mentioned that for those who are TIMS compliant, those who are issuing invoices using our device-based solutions, you are compliant for purposes of eTIMS and TIMS and VAT if you're VAT registered. However, if you'd like to move, I know if your device is having issues, there's that option to switch. But for now, you are fully compliant, and you'll correct me if I'm wrong, Muthoni. But you can just touch on that first question in a minute or two regarding how we can generate credit notes through eCitizen solution. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Mandy, for that. So on all the platforms that we've provided for the eTIM solutions, there's a provision for a credit note. So when you go to eCitizen, there's a view on top of the how would I say it, on top when you go to the salesman to create the sales invoice, on top there are three lines that assist you to maybe expand your screen, and from there you're able to see the full invoice. And there's a provision when you click on the view, there's a view button. It will populate either you generate a full or a partial credit note. So there's that provision on the eCitizen platform. As I've said, it's for all the platforms that we have made a provision for that, just in case you probably when you were generating an invoice, you did an invoice that you wanted to correct, then there's that provision on the platform. So you've asked if someone has already purchased a device. Yes, Mandy, if someone has purchased a device, then there's no need of them coming to eTIMS. eTIMS is for people who had not gotten a chance to purchase the device, maybe due to cost implications, and they also want to be compliant. So we came up with eTIMS to assist these taxpayers, and also probably you're having challenges transmitting these invoices to KRA through your device. Then you don't have to you don't have you don't have to keep having this problem. You can always reach out. What you need to do is just retire the device through your station, and you're able to now come on board onto eTIMS. Remember, we say that they both serve the same purpose of generating invoices electronically to KRA. So that is the end goal. And if you have the device, then you're compliant enough. It doesn't mean that you're compliant. We are working with both teams and the eTIMS solutions. Thank you, Mandy.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Madam Mudhoni. I'll bring back Victor just to touch on the very important link he's just posted in the chat. I think it will also respond to a number of the queries from taxpayers requesting for demos as to how the generation of invoice and transmission actually works. So Victor, as you talk about the link you've just posted, allow me also just to pose a quick question to you from Mr. David, who I think in the registration process experienced this next message for his eTIMS application being rejected. It stated that your service request on eTIMS has been rejected, saying that details of the persons associated with business are not available. How can a taxpayer resolve that issue in order to register effectively? So those two comments, please. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Mandy. So I'll first start by answering the second question raised by, if I got it correctly, David. So maybe the first things to look at when you're making an eTIMS application, I think Mudhoni mentioned that we have 4 types of solutions, right? And she, went into depth of what each solution, which solution favors which kind of business. So when you're making an eTIMS application, there are 2 important documents we always need from, the a business owner making the application, and that's their national identification card and a signed commitment letter that we have availed on our KRA website. And some of the things we look at in terms of us doing our due diligence before approving is, as per our records on iTax, who is the owner of this business? Is the person making the application a director? Is he or she the owner? And in that case, we also confirm that that's the identification card that has been uploaded, and that's the information captured as the director's information in the commitment letter. So if that checks out, then we proceed to do the approval based on, again, the kind of business they are doing. So if maybe I won't go talk much about how we conduct our due diligence, but if we're able to, tell that this person does not, maybe they've done an application for the online portal, which is for businesses that do services only, and yet from what we have in our records, you can see that also this person trades in terms of supplies at one point or another, maybe even minimal, but at one point or another they do supplies. Then we can already tell that this application is not correct. So we cannot approve for the online portal, yet this person deals with goods. So we reject the application, notifying the taxpayer on what solution they need to, or rather what the problem is with the application they made. So in this particular case, for David, if I'm not mistaken again, is because the records we have on our end, we're able to see that the person who made this application is not registered as maybe the director or the business owner on our records, and this most of the times happens because they maybe have changed the directorship or ownership of the business, but they have not updated the same information on iTax. And in that case, once they reach out to us, we're able to do a follow-up and ask for documentation that can confirm directorship, and that's the CR12. And then we of course walk that journey with the taxpayer, and if everything is now confirmed to be correct, then we can proceed to reapply for the eTIMS solution, and then we approve it. We go all the way to the approval and the configuration if necessary. And about the link I've just shared, it's So the thing is, we have so many. You just know YouTube. You can find anyone and everyone having created a YouTube tutorial on how to go about invoicing. But we have the ones that are KRA published, and that these particular ones you find them in our KRA TV. That's our YouTube page, and we have several videos or rather tutorials on how to go about invoicing for the different solutions. So there are several solutions, so you need to identify which is the solution I'm using, and then go for the tutorial that talks about the solution that you're using. And maybe we have not published the ones for the simplified solutions as yet, but you can also, I'll share the link of our KRA website and where exactly you can find the step-by-step guides on how to go about invoicing, how to go about even raising a credit note. So we have all this information published on our KRA website. So I'll be able to share that link so that at least you can follow those steps to be able to go about raising invoices and also credit notes. And also it also highlights the onboarding steps. So I hope that answers the question. And back to you, Mandy.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Victor. I think that is quite detailed. At least it gives our taxpayers the resources available that they can continue to make reference to as they work towards fully being compliant, eTIMS and TIMS related. I think I have one last question that I'll ask maybe Mudhoni to quickly tackle in a minute or less, and then bring on our final queries from the PwC team just to give their closing remarks. Mudhoni, it's a quick question regarding, let me just locate that question, and please take note, Mr. Mwangi Victor has posted the links available on the chat for the resources available on the KRA channel, as well as the KRA TV YouTube channel, where we've posted helpful step-by-step guides and tutorials for some of the older eTIMS solutions that we have available. Mudhoni, if you're in a position, I know we can maybe both tackle this, but in the previous VAT filing season, we had a number of challenges when it came to eTIMS invoices and TIMS invoices that, according to our invoice checker, were indeed valid and appear to have been transmitted. But when filing the return, they did not were not captured in the auto-populated return. We note that later on in the day, they relaxed the validation controls and people were able to file through the normal system. But if you're in a position, Mudhoni, did you experience queries and comments regarding that? And how can a taxpayer resolve that issue? If you'd like, I'd also be able to touch on that briefly and then close with our PwC comments. Mudhoni?
Yeah, thank you so much for that, Mandy. So yeah, we had a couple of issues regarding that. I remember this is the month that we auto-populated the return, so there was an expectation of these teething problems, but we've been able to tackle them, and we hope that in subsequent months, then it will be much easier for you as a taxpayer to file your return. So mostly the issue was with the purchases. When someone was going to file their return, they would find that they cannot claim these purchases, though they had given out their PIN number to the trader that they were trading with. So the issue mainly was because they had given their PIN number, but during transmission, some of these devices from the team's gadgets were excluding the PIN number of the buyer when transmitting. So even though you had given out your PIN number and it actually was appearing on the invoice, some of these devices were actually omitting the buyer's PIN. So it was hard for us to trace that credit to you to ensure that you claim that credit. So you'd find that when you're filing, the system would lock you out from claiming this purchase. So the remedy to this was you needed to get in touch with the person you traded with. They get in touch with the supplier of the device to reverse that transaction, and then issue another invoice and ensure that they've configured their machine to ensure that it's transmitted with your PIN number. So once it's transmitted with your PIN number, then you're able to claim that purchase in your return, most probably in the month of March. So I hope that clears whatever was going on, though they relaxed the system, as you said, Mendy. But going forward, you need to ensure that as you give out your PIN number, it is as well transmitted with a PIN number so that you get to enjoy this credit when you're filing your VAT return. Thank you, and back to you, Mendy.
Thank you so much, Mudhoni. And just to add on to that, very briefly, for those who are registered and you are the main taxpayer, your account manager in KRA has now been given the monthly information. I think it's real time or almost real time of the transmissions that are actually coming through with your PIN. So in the event that you want to confirm within this month before the period of filing commences next month from 1st to 20th, you can always engage your account manager to confirm the various invoices that you may be in doubt of, that whether they've transmitted effectively. So that's something that they've also made available, our iTax team, to ensure that at least the process is a little smoother next month. But I know that they are all systems go when it comes to the auto population of the returns, and are again being enabled by eTIMS and TIMS compliance. So I think that brings us by and large to the end of our main presentation today. I just want to close with maybe some few remarks from our PwC team. I don't know, Mr. Washinga or Mr. Muya, who'd like to tackle this final question as to what opportunities actually exist for this country when revenue mobilization is specific, when we are all on TIMS and eTIMS. Mr. Anyone from PwC, please feel free to tackle this last question. Thanks.
Thanks, Mandy. I think I'll give my wrap-up comments. I think where do we see this going? In the spirit of automation, we expect that once this comes fully on board, there will be efficiencies that arise from taxpayers onboarding to eTIMS. As I had mentioned too earlier, we're looking at simplified filed returns, visibility of transactions, then business processes being visible to both suppliers and customers. So what we would say is we encourage taxpayers, as they have heard from you, KRA is here to support and to ensure that everybody is onboarded. Solutions are there that cut across. I was just going through some of the comments, and I think, Victor, you have covered it nicely. All the solutions that are available for various industry players in the market, from the service sector to people who deal with supplies and products and all that. And what we would encourage is that they liaise with your team and us as consultants to enable them on board on eTIMS. Again, from the Revenue Authority side of it, there are also some benefits that would accrue from a revenue mobilization side of it. And I will welcome my colleague Daniel Muya to wrap it up from that side of it. Daniel, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Michael and Mendy. Yeah, so as Michael, you put it, for sure, this is something tax compliance process has really evolved over time, and adoption of technology, we can't run away from it. This is with us. There is no going back. I think as Kenyans, I think, Victor, you touched on this, we've got used to the last minute rush. But I think this time, there are actually, starting from the year 2021, there was a lot of postponement of these deadlines and such. But I think it's the high time for all taxpayers to just comply, because it's as Michael, you put it, it benefits both the taxpayers and also the government in terms of making the tax collection process streamlined and also most efficient, such that even for the Revenue Authority, the minimum cost they are incurring to collect these taxes, then it's at the minimum they can achieve. So maybe to touch on the benefits from the KRA side, of course, there is improved transparency. They can see all data for taxpayers. Then it means, of course, they need, if they are doing audits, maybe to refund overpaid taxes, then I believe the onerous process we were used to before, then that should definitely reduce, of course, saving cost to both taxpayers and also the Revenue Authority. And of course, there is reduced tax evasion, where maybe some taxpayers previously been in the VAT compliance sector. I've had instances where somebody charged VAT, but they never submitted to KRA. I think with the introduction of TIMS and the VAT auto assessments, of course, those were done away with. It was also to my surprise that there could be taxpayers outside in the market charging VAT but not submit to the Revenue Authority. With these teams and the eTIMS thing, of course, that will come to an end, because you can't pay somebody VAT when you are not going to claim it because they have not complied. So in terms of tax evasion, that will also be done away with, which is a benefit to the Revenue Authority as well. And then I think it's just, in general, it's just streamlining the whole process and make it more efficient for taxpayers and also the Revenue Authority. Of course, to remain in business, you have to remain competitive, and adopting technology is part of making sure your cost of running the business comes down, which I believe eTIMS is coming up with such advantages. So thank you so much, Menti, Mike, for those comments.
Asante sana. Thank you very much, Mr. Moya. Thank you very much, Mr. Washinga. I think it's well known where we can find you, and the PwC team should any taxpayer wish to engage with your officers further. But allow me to apologize. We've gone over time just by 5 minutes, but to thank you all for your patience, for your indulgence. To a very big thank you to Madam Mudhoni and Mr. Mwangi. I know you're all busy, again, sensitizing taxpayers, dealing with walk-ins, but thank you for dedicating the last 1 hour to sensitize us again on the key things we need to take note of. Bearing in mind the upcoming deadline of 31st March, bearing in mind all the changes and the new initiatives that our taxpayers must take note of in order to be compliant. And again, to have a smooth filing process next month for those who are VAT registered. Thank you very much to the marketing team for organizing this session and for being with us throughout the duration of this session and sharing a smooth, technical hitch-free forum. Asanteni sana to our esteemed taxpayers from all across the country who've made time to be here. Thank you for honoring our invite, and we continue to engage with you. As Mudhoni mentioned, these forums take place weekly, and so when you see an email from us, please feel free to reach out and we can continue to engage. Thank you all very much. I wish you a blessed rest of the day, and if it's not too soon, a blessed Easter as well. The team from PwC have posted their comments, or I beg your pardon, their emails, and again, the contact information for the eTIMS team will be projected shortly once again. Otherwise, a blessed rest of the day and a blessed Easter ahead. Thank you, everyone. The forum is now over. You're free to leave at your leisure. Thank you.